Actually, most spiritual seekers are stuck badly. Stuck badly because unwittingly, without realizing, they become even more egotistical than when they started. So if you look in the world of spirituality, and I'm not lecturing the Sangha about anything, I'm generally speaking, saying that if you generally look at a cross-section of spiritual people, you will hear them being constantly concerned about themselves. But me this, and my this thing, and my state this, and my state that. So that's why I've been emphasizing so much these days to keep the focus in the right place, which is God. All of this is for God. Otherwise, spirituality will become a self-serving sort of instrument meant to bring us peace or something like that. Not that peace is a bad objective. Not that peace is the bad objective, but in the chasing of a more perfect me will inevitably lead to only a lack of peace. Chasing perfection in individuality cannot lead to peace. And that is why the spiritual struggle, in spite of the few moments of seeming happiness, mostly becomes a struggle. So, I am proposing to all of us that if we are going to struggle, then let's struggle for God against the me. Not for God, so ultimately me. We have to uproot this from our system somewhere, individual play of consciousness somewhere, where this play has become all about God, but God for me. And if God not for me, then no God. Then God is not working for me. And God is not meant to work for me. And I did this often in my life with all the spiritual shopping that I did. Went from place to place, master to master, satsang to satsang, type of practice to practice, because it was not working for me. But it isn't meant to. It isn't meant to work for me. It is fully, true spirituality is fully designed to annihilate the me. Not so that me can become better with the annihilation, with the destruction of me. But truly, the letting go of the false identity in service to God, in service to God's presence, in service to God's light. So if you fix this mindset, that is the first step. Otherwise we can keep chasing God forever and the chase will seemingly not bear fruit, because actually you're not chasing God. You still took me to be God, the ego to be God, and then you expected God to come and serve that one. So truly the directions have to be realigned, where we realize that if we are spiritual, spiritual means to surrender, to let go, to empty ourselves, to die to ourselves in service to the true light, which is possible to meet. And what a grace and privilege that it is possible to meet. So this is important because all the rest I'm going to say will depend on this. If the intention is always clouded with me, and am I getting this or not getting this? You see, and am I progressing or not progressing? If our intention will always be clouded under the cloud of this ego, then meeting the light of God will only become a spiritual experience for us and not a living life. So are you here for spiritual experiences and make spiritual progress and become then something special, enlightened or whatever that may sound like? Or are you willing to let go of all that is false in service to God, even if the process seems at times painful and not peaceful? This is the main question. This is the main question. But if you are open and empty in this way, then the rest of what I'm going to say will be very, very easy. But if you attempt to walk on this path with the burden of selfishness, then the path will seem very painful and strenuous and tiring and full of frustration and anger. Look at all the tantrums we have thrown in Satsang. All the tantrums that we ever thrown in Satsang. Have they been about God? No, they've been about why God doesn't serve me. So although all Satsang reminds you that you have to let go, somewhere you feel that you are letting go so that you can become a better you. And therefore you think that your tiny seeming sacrifices then therefore entitles you to something with God. God is the light in which all of this is born. The light in which all of this is born. That you have an instant of life is because God is. What does that one who gives us life owe us? The very light of consciousness comes from within itself. And then this infection of selfishness and egotism then convinces us that we are entitled to something in God's house. And then the masses of spirituality are now deluded that they deserve something from God. Oh, I have come to the temple for you. I deserve something from you in return. Oh, I chanted your name. I deserve something in return. I bow down to you, I deserve something in return. Your one moment of life is God's gift. God has played his part. What else do you have to offer? If you spent your entire life in service to God, one moment of life is worth more than that. Now what else will you give? Until your heart doesn't catch fire with a question like this, where you say, take me completely. I don't know what else to give. All I thought I could give you is my lifetime full of service. But if now this absurd one is saying even that is not enough, catch fire with the question like this and say, take me completely, because I do not even know what else I can give you. And even that is not a guarantee that you will get something in return. Who is willing to still make that seeming sacrifice, although it isn't one, with no returns guaranteed, no entitlements created? So most are actually misunderstanding even trust and faith. Where we feel that I have faith in God, that I will get this in return if I do this. That is not faith. Faith is to accept the irrational existence of the highest force in this universe. That God is, which to the heart is completely obvious always, but which to the mind is just a figment of your imagination. To accept your heart's calling that there is God, that is faith. Faith is not an expectation of return. Meaning, faith is not an expectation that we do a little bit of nonsense and then we become entitled to something. So to sacrifice the idea we have about ourselves, even the highest idea we have about ourselves, in faith that God is the mere starting point of spirituality. To let go of everything you take yourself to be and all your desires, to empty yourself from all the garbage that you've collected, maybe over lifetimes. and not holding on to this insistent like a baby holding on to its rattle, holding on to this egotism. Letting go of the question, yes, all this is good, but then ultimately what about me? Which is the root of most doubt I've heard in Satsang over the last 11, 12 years. Yes, everything is good. I have had experiences of consciousness and experiences of awareness, but then what about me? And without realizing we are stuck in the same infection, maybe worse than when we started in Satsang. It is possible in Satsang for a Sangha to become the most egotistical bunch I ever met. Especially when it seems like some progress is being made. I'm not saying that is happening. If that point comes, I will say it, but I'm completely aware of the possibility. So my request today and my pleading and imploration is that set your compass straight. Keep it aligned to God's light. And may nothing else have meaning for you. To evade the play of this Maya, to evade the play of this Maya is only possible in this spirit. And this spirit is very important to start with. Are you enrolling in the army of God's light? Are you enrolling in the army of God's light? Or are you coming to a self-service camp? What is it that you really want? Do you want to die to yourself and make whatever you take yourself to be available to God? Or you just want to become perfect? You want to become the next Buddha? Or are you truly open to whatever is God's will? Therefore, then what needs to come into the spotlight is, what is my boundary? Where do I draw the line? My life is for God is a word, is a phrase that all of you may have used. But examine for yourself if this is completely true. And I'm glad that we have used it. I'm glad that we made this claim, because now that claim will hold you up. You will not like the dichotomy between that which your heart wants and your head says is rational and acceptable. There's a great dichotomy there. And to take that leap from head to heart is the leap of faith. Where your head defines your boundary is where your inquiry and surrender starts. Not in the comfortable space where it becomes a technique. Not in the comfort of it becoming a practice. But in the burning of the boundary, in the clear looking at the lack of faith, is where our spiritual life starts. But where the mind draws your boundary, between that and the light of God's presence, that is the gap we are trying to fulfill, to fill up. Not by moving God into the acceptable circle, but by pushing against and fighting against the bounds that you have placed upon yourself. Where one day with full heart you can say, my life is truly for God in every way. So then surrender doesn't remain a lip service. And please don't fool yourself. Don't live in a denial of your lack of faith. Don't live in denial of the mind boundary, but set a fire to it. Advaita does not give you the tools to live in denial. Although they can be used in that way, it is not meant for that. It is meant so that every bit of your individuality is squeezed out of you. Every inch of your selfishness is brought to the light. and discard it in your inquiry, in your true full-hearted surrender. So this is just the context to getting started with spirituality. These are the beginner's rules. So decide today whether it is God for me or me for God. And me for God means everything that you take to be yours. If we cannot sacrifice everything that we take to be ours, not even for God itself, but in the will of God, if you get the scent of this, that this is what God wills from us, if you get the scent of this, the smell of this, that this is what God wills from us, would you let go of all that you took to be yours? Just on that whiff, not even a Akashvani or a command from the sky. If you get a scent in your heart, and let go of all that you hold dear, would you follow? Would you follow? Not with the promise of getting something in return, but just because God wills it so. If this is the hukum that Guru Nanak wants us to follow, if this is the way to Ram through becoming Hanuman, if this is the way to become a true Muslim by following the will of God, if this is the heart of Christianity, to follow God's will, and are we willing to move out of our lip service and armchair spirituality to a true life? Because without all this, with the presence of this ignorance, with the presence of this egotism, this selfishness, to talk about Atma Jnana and the darshan of the self is just intellectual discourse. It is not at all possibility, and I hope that you don't get spiritual experiences when you're full of ego. Because there is no oppressor like the spiritual ego. Nothing can oppress you like the spiritual ego can. Till you are clear in your heart that this life is for God, till you see that it is me for God and not God for me, we are not even getting started. Not even getting started about the life of God, the life with God, the life as God, if you even dare to say something like that. So although Advaita may seem like the most direct path, and it is the most direct path, it is not without self-sacrifice. Not without self-sacrifice, not without you dying to yourself before you come to the darshan of the Lord. So, although open and empty may sound like a simple point to me, what can make you truly open? What can get you to be truly empty? The head full of selfishness, with concerns about relationships and money and health of the body and how much progress you are making, can you have a moment of emptiness? So let your life match your lips. And there is not one of you here who has not said that this life is not for God. Let your life match your claim. Not outwardly, nobody cares about that. But inwardly, I feel the metaphor of enrolling in the light of God's army versus coming to a self-help retreat is a good one. Most of us in today's world come as if we are coming to a self-help center. And we are to blame for that. All the spiritual marketing is about that. Come, 5 days, practice 30 steps, become stress-free, go back to work and become more productive. Where is God's hukum in all of that? Learn the 50 ways to breathe and become Superman or Superwoman. That is the promise. Surrounded by all of this nonsense, can we find it within ourselves to dedicate this life to God? That is a bet and a risk you must be willing to take. And if you're quivering at the thought, then bring that and keep that in your light. That is better than the delusions of grandeur. You're shaking at the thought because you thought spirituality will make you better, will make you special with the halo and enlightened. But now really what is happening is that you're being recruited in God's army to fight who? Your own ego, your own specialness. And if you're quivering at the thought of living in the obedience of God's will, then bring that to your light. Don't run away from that, don't shy away from that, don't become all Advaita about it. Say that this is where I draw my line. This is where I draw my line and ask for help. Inquire into what is it in your individuality that makes you so attached to whatever that is. Pray into it, surrender into it. Then you will be done with the zombie life. Be done with this zombie life. Although God's presence animates you, you may spend the entire life without a true darshan, a true meeting with this light. And I am full of the resolution to fight tooth and nail for you. Full of it in my heart to spread this heart infection so deeply in all of you, and may you shine so brightly. But I cannot do it, I cannot force it on you till you get your compass straight. Get your compass aligned. Away from me and towards God. And the rest I'll make it super easy for you. Empty of selfishness, to show you God is child's play. You empty yourself, I promise you that which you're looking for, you will find. And even if you say, I'm not able to empty myself fully, here is my boundary. I'm too attached to my looks. I'm too attached to my money. I'm too attached to whatever it may be, which is going to go anyway. Shine that in your light. The tools are with you. You all know now how to inquire, how to surrender, how to pray. But you have turned these devices to help yourselves instead of helping God. Many of you are now super accomplished. You may write research papers on Advaita. You may write books on devotion. All the knowledge you have. But do you have the innocence to meet God? Jyotima was saying a beautiful thing the other day. She said, somebody asked Bhagwan, Bhagwan, what do you feel about this thing where in India we say, in the last moment, if you remember God, then you get to be with Him in Vaikuntha or become one with God, whatever your belief system is. Bhagwan said, yes, it's good, but remember that this could be that last moment. This could be that last moment. In this moment it could all be done. So what's the best time? All that I'm saying for you is for now. And although I place it in the garb of a request and an imploration, really, if you call me Guru, if you call me Father, then it is not a request, it is a command. With all your might, all your might, let go of all that is false in you. And if you cannot let go of all that is false in you, at least bring that which you are denying into the light. Don't hide behind fancy spiritual words. So we don't need Satsang Hall to become a center of peace. It better become a sacrificial altar for all our heads. Lead a headless life. Is to lead the eternal life. And remember that I don't want any of this rah-rah business. Okay? Yes, yes. We are with you, Father. Because I've seen that excitement, it comes and goes super fast. It has no value. Meet my words in your heart. They may not even make an impression right now or have any impact today. But my blessing and hope, of course, is that they flower within you. And never do you walk on the path of fake spirituality. The self-serving nonsense that is usually called spirituality. So how does one live a life in God's will? If all the sages, all the masters, everyone has told us that follow God's will. Have you met this God to follow? Is it available in a book saying you follow these instructions? His commands. Maybe provisionally. If you have no access to God directly, you may say, this is a book of God's words. And if you follow that, then you are following God's will. And that is fine to begin with. But for all of you, is it true that you do not have access to God? Is God something you still have to meet through an intermediary? Wherever things are about to get worse for you than they are for most of the world, because you won't even have this excuse. Most of the world can say, but I don't know what is God's will. If God wants something, when He reveals Himself, herself to me, then I will follow. Right now, I have this life. I have responsibilities. I can't follow God's will. I don't know what it is. But you in Satsang will not have that excuse, and do not have that excuse. And what I'm about to say is very easy for those of you who are empty, because that very presence which you say, I am, your very being. And when I ask you, can you stop being? Try to stop being that which you cannot stop, whose presence is palpable to you. That presence, that light is God's light, not a personal light. That is the presence of God's being. That is your beingness, your Atma. And before we attach things to this I am, before you attach notions to this I am, it is available pure and simple. It's here. Ask yourself if that is a personal presence that belongs to somebody. Whose presence is this? Whose light is this? The light in which you are experiencing this light, whose is it? Did you get it from somewhere? That which you take yourself to be, this body, appears in whose light? In which light? In which presence? God's presence is here. Consider this presence as God's toenail and hang on to it with all your might. Nothing else is worth it. If you're done with this zombie life, hold on to this presence with all of your might. And if there's some of you who feel like I've gone too far, then stop me and tell me to come back here, because I want us all to meet here. I want to make it a living reality for all of us, not just some notional stuff. So if some of you are new and they feel like, but you just took a big leap from the spirit of self-sacrifice to suddenly, here is God. If you feel that, stop me. And we can look at it. I may then ask you, is there a love you feel in your heart which is unchanging with time, which is not the feeling of love, I love you so much. And tomorrow is like, I don't like you, I need my space. If you have a love like that for your master, for your parents, for your children, you'll be taken a step back. How to meet this light? If it feels like, can you stop being is going too far, then start with a love. And there must be a love like that. Chase the scent of this love, chase the perfume of this love to its source. Where does it come from? If you are attracted to a particular aspect of consciousness, say Ram, Krishna, Jesus, Allah, latch on to the scent of that. What does it do to you when you chant the name? When you say Ram, when you say Krishna, when you say Jesus, when you say Allah, certain fragrance is bound to take birth in your heart if said with devotion and love. Follow that fragrance. Where does it come from? So that love, that pure love for divinity can guide you to the divinity itself. And as your mind is fighting, as your mind may be resisting all of this, doubting all of this, right now, remember what our deal is. And that is why the deal was made first. That this life and whatever the mind's temptations may be, you have nothing to do with that. You have surrendered this life to God. So that becomes your shield in the inquiry. That becomes your power. That which made you seem so powerless initially gives true power to your heart, where all your doubts cannot tempt you, because this is not about you. It is only about God's light, what we are coming to. So this scent of God's perfume, follow it doggedly, literally doggedly to its source. That will make my question, can you stop being alive for you? And you will notice that this presence, this light of God has always been here. And this is not some mere spiritual experience which you're having now and it will go away tomorrow. It's not something which you can claim you got it and then you lost it. It forms your very basis, your very foundation, unchangingly. It is the light of this universe. Creator, preserver, teacher, sustainer, lover, destroyer is this light. If you feel that you haven't got it, it would be worthwhile to spend the next 100 lifetimes only in search of this. Nothing else is worth it. You may have a million zombie lifetimes where you become the king of this universe, and it is not worth it if you have not lived in this light of God. Everything leave aside in your heart, inwardly. Turn towards this light with all your might, and it will reveal itself to you. You are nothing without this. Nothing without this. Don't pick up any project, anything except this. Remember again that I am not speaking about the activities of the outer life. And the light which is guiding and driving all of that can continue in whichever way, that is fine. But in your heart, make no room for anything else. Surrender, inquire, pray with all your might for this discovery. You do not want to have one more lifetime where you go without this. All the rest is dying anyway, it's already dead. That which is dying is already dead. Meet true life now. This is what will make your life one with God's eternal life. So notice that we've come far away from the program where you thought you were going to help yourself. The attempt is to sacrifice everything, all our attachments, and get into this full pursuit of the light in our heart. Because without this, all our accomplishments are mud. Because they belong to the false one with a name and form. I'm not being metaphorical, poetic, not making a speech, I'm not running for any political office. What I'm telling all of you is completely literal. Please don't confuse it in metaphor. God's light is available to you, within you. Don't waste a life without coming to its full discovery. On one hand, there is God. On the other hand, what do you have? On one hand, there is God. Maybe a moment of God, an instant of God, versus what you got. Get? What do we have? On the other hand, what is the deal? What is the barter your mind is making? What will you exchange this for? Not worth it. And you cannot say tomorrow. You cannot say tomorrow. Because do we actually know that we escape this rain? We don't know. It seems absurd, of course, but we don't really know. So you cannot say not to be tomorrow. And I realize that many of you are already aware of this light. To them and to all of you, and maybe it will help all of you, I want to ask, check within you. Does this being have a boundary? Check within yourself. Ask yourself whether this being has a boundary. And now you're taking the second. Audible at the back? Now you're taking the second quantum leap. Because when you check that the boundary of this life, which is at the cusp of phenomena and noumena, so although its presence could be experienced almost perceptually, you may call it the primordial vibration, you will notice that you are aware of this beingness being boundaryless, and that which is boundless you cannot perceive. You all lost me with me together? So you checked intuitively, you found that there is no boundary. Really? And yet at the cusp of perception you found this primordial vibration, the light, the presence of God. And that is why I call this the toenail of God, which you can hang on to. That will bring you to a vastness which you cannot fathom. Can you perceive that which is boundless? In what way would you perceive it? Possible or not? Not possible. And yet, your light, in a very primal way, you can experience. So now you have gone from the taste of the presence of being, the taste of God's light, the Atma to the Paramatma. No senses, no concept, no words that I may say can help you here. I just asked a simple question. Check and tell me if this light has a boundary, if this presence is bound. But that boundlessness which you are confirming intuitively, that is not what you are perceiving. You with me? You can confirm intuitively, and all of our intuition will confirm this, that there is no boundary. This I amness has no boundary. And yet its presence can be felt, can be experienced. So the presence of being points us to the vastness of being which is imperceptible, unfathomable with traditional means of conceptualization and perception. Okay, sounding too academic. Basically, you can't do it. You can't do it except with your heart. And your heart has already confirmed it. What is intuition? That which needs no mechanics. It needs no working. It's aparoksha. It's immediate. Before the sound of the click. So this boundless being, which is beyond perception, is God, is consciousness. That in which this entire universe appears and disappears. In the light of its presence, all this projected play that we navigate with our attention. But we never ask, does my attention ever leave me? We feel like it goes outside. It cannot go outside. How can attention leave you? How do you send it out? No. It is navigating your own screen, your own light. And that which gives life and light to this universe you're coming to a non-perceivable darshan of that. Some of your minds will get very irritated at this point. Some of you want to attack me. All of those things may happen. Although outwardly it will be peaceful. This is very natural, and I've seen this, of course, over many years. Why? Because you cannot squeeze this into your head, no matter what you do. And the mind hates feeling left out. You're having a party, and this cannot be included. So it hates feeling left out. So it's going to say, but how do I know? This is it. But you check. Do you have a boundary? Does your being have a boundary? Was it born? Will it die? Is it here in the universe? Does it have a location? You checked on all of this instantly, and you have been able to confirm to yourself that you do not have these worldly attributes. But can the mind fathom this? No chance. So it will say, prove it. And that prove it is a trap. Because there is no empirical way of proving it. If God became empirical, then God would just be available in a temple. So at best, the temple, places of worship can offer us the scent by which we can come to this, which we can pursue doggedly to come to this. God's being, God's consciousness, we cannot squeeze it into our head. And this is where most Advaitins also get stuck. They feel like, am I really having this discovery? How do I know? And they spend the rest of their time trying to prove it, by writing some concepts about it or trying to have intellectual debates with people. All nonsense, doesn't help. But you have an advantage because you are what? Headless. So where will you squeeze it to? If you're truly headless, which was the entry condition, then that attempt cannot be made. Many say to me, I hear you but समझ नहीं आ रहा क्या? नहीं आ सकता, that is the whole point. The whole point is that what I'm sharing, and if the sharing is true and coming from the heart, then you cannot get it in your head. And if you got it in your head, I would be very suspicious. So I would rather you end up being frustrated and irritated and angry with me, than you saying, yes, I got it. Because then I'm doing something wrong. And I'm making it too simple for your head to follow. Now we come to the last point, which is the final leap, beyond which no words make any sense. Even here, no words make any sense. And this actually, and any of these actually, cannot be done by us. They are done within our heart by grace itself. So if you're trying, or if you're making an attempt, just come back. You're going too far. You've gone too far already. All you have to do is, with whatever attention you feel you can muster, just keep it on the words that are coming and allow the words to unfold for themselves. The question is actually very simple. The question is, are you aware now? And the answer is immediate. It is recognized immediately. But notice the immediacy of this hides something very important. That this revelation is unique because it is completely empty of any perfume, any scent, any fragrance, any quality, any time, any size, any duration, any of that. Are you aware now? You cannot think about this answer. You cannot perceive that awareness. You cannot even say that in recognizing the primordial vibration I am, I came to this. Not in the slightest no evidence of any sort. Instant, immediate. This is the absolute Nirguna Brahman. Which is your ultimate reality. Your mind will propose that it is a blank, but it is not. Even the blank is witnessed. It's just a mere perception. It will create a dark, empty space for you to confirm that this is awareness, but it is not that. Darkness is also a quality. There's nothing you can do or not do to find this. So far removed from this realm, this dream, is your reality that there are no tools which you can use to lasso it in. Just an invitation you can make in your heart for grace to unfold. This, which is the simplest knowledge ever in the upside down world of the mind, seems to be the most difficult. To call this the birthplace of God would be an understatement. Believe that this can be the cause of some personal enlightenment would be a sheer folly. To realize your reality being this is the greatest gift possible in the human condition.